Today we're going to be discussing women in combat, and our claim is that the Department of Defense should restore the prohibition on women serving in combat roles. And we're going to be supporting this with three claims. First is that women have less physical strength than men. Second, the presence of women in combat creates liability and danger for the rest of the combat group. And third, by eliminating women serving in combat, it alleviates the lives of women getting risk of death. So to support our first secondary claim, women are naturally built differently than men, and they're most of the time smaller than men. And when you're trying to place them in the same level as a physical attribute as men, they'll definitely gonna fall behind. According to the Washington Times, the physical capacity of women is significantly less than of men and even more difficult to sustain. Women are at significant disadvantage when it comes to performing military physical tasks because they have significantly higher percentage of body fat and generally much lower lower total lean mass. Also, the physical requirements for women in combat are very rigorous. The requirements allows you to run a specific time or do push-ups, a number of push-ups in minutes, and women cannot be in the same level as men. And this shows in the study that was done in the Reserve Officer Training Corps, dating back in 1992, and have 74,000 records of female commissioned officers. And looking at the push-ups and the 2-mile run, he found that only 2.9% of women were able to attain the mean score of men, meaning that is not even the highest of the men, that is just the average of a compiled time that men would have with this test. Also, women in a war zone cannot perform as efficient as men. When you're in a war zone, you're going to be carrying this, you're going to be carrying your equipment, you're going to be running around, and you're going to be ultimately trying to pace with the men in combat. So in a fight load, according to Washington Times, the gear of the infantryman carries on patrol is 35% of the average of a man's body weight, but 50% of the average of the women's weight. So that means that women have to carry 50% of their weight to lag around. At the same time, they might also need to carry other infantrymen that might be injured. So that's another weight on themselves. And they're not going to be able to keep up with the other men that are only carrying 35% of their body weight. Our secondary claim, the second secondary claim is that the presence of women in combat creates liability and danger. And that is from when you're putting women with an infantry with all men, it creates a sexual tension. And that distracts men and women from the combat at hand. According to Journal Times, we're focusing on the underlying sexual tension harms for both men and women, for it suggests that men's ability to focus on a life-threatening situation is significantly reduced, if not obliterated, by the mere presence of women, and it just suggests that a man or that she too will be distracted from her duties by simple presence of men. Also, women also suffers from mental health that could jeopardize her ability to perform at a very high risk operation. And men also have these mental disorders, and so does women. And according to the NextGov, the National Journal Group, mental health disorders, not battlefield wounds, were the leading cause of medical evacuations of women in troops from Afghanistan, Iraq, and between October of 2001 and September of 2010. And the Armed Forces Health Surveillance Center said this report. And so when you are evacuated from your duties, you're technically going to leave all your group members by themselves and they're gonna have to cope up without one person, which kind of lessens the effectiveness of the group. Our third secondary claim is that serving in combat will, by women not serving in combat, it will eliminate them from all this risk. So if women just don't serve in it, then it will ultimately save them from harming themselves and relieving them from any mental health or even or death, because they're not in the same capacity as men are.